Holosun ARO versus 403B. Which one should you get? Should you upgrade your 403B to the ARO? We're going to discuss that in this video and what the differences are between them. The ARO is a pretty new offering from Holosun, and if you want to pick it up as well as accessories for it, risers and mounts, you can head over to the link in the description, defensedistributors.com. What exactly are the differences between them? Why would you want one versus the other? The 403B was one of Holosun's older red dot offerings, pretty standard, features push buttons on the top, and the 403 line was Holosun's style dot like this. There's a 403R, 403C, there's a whole bunch of different 403 variations, and each one of them has specifically different settings between them or different strong points. The 403B is what we'll be using in this video because it's most similar to the new ARO. The Holosun ARO is a very recent release from Holosun, and it's designed to replace the entire 403 red dot line from Holosun and bring some improvements to the table. Are those improvements enough for you to upgrade from the 403B? That's still to be determined based on your setup. But first, let's talk about the similarities between these two optics. They're very similar in their nature, circle style red dots. They both have top buttons, which are very, very similar, pretty much the same between the two for all of your different modes. These in their standard variation both have a single dot, but you can get multiple reticles for this, which we'll talk about later. The mounting height is pretty much the same. The mount style is the same. These use a T2 pattern, meaning you can put this on any of the widely available T2 mounts that we carry at Defense Distributors and change the height of this without doing anything else crazy. There are some major differences, though, between these, which we're going to talk about now. First, the weight. This is a pretty minor one. There's not a huge amount of difference between them. The 403B weighs around 2.8 ounces, and the ARO weighs around 3.3 ounces. So there is a little bit of a difference between these. I should mention this is the base model of the ARO we're using. We're not using the Evo. We're not using any accessories or anything on it. It is a base model, just as they both come out of the box. Height. The height on these is very similar in their tall configuration, but in their low configuration, the heights are a different mount. These both come with a 1.63, which is a lower 1/3 height mount, as they're set up right now, which is a great height and pretty standard across the board. Both of them also come with a secondary low mount option, and you can unscrew these dots out of their mounts here and put them into the low mounts, but the low mounts are a different height. The 403 has an included mount with a height of 0.75 inches, and the ARO has an included mount with a height of 1.05 inches. It's not a huge difference, but it may be something to consider for your setup. This is why I mentioned it. The 403B comes in only one configuration. It comes in a single dot form. When you turn this on, you can adjust the brightness or make it dimmer of that single dot, and that's about it. The ARO, this current version that I'm holding right now, is in its single dot format, but you can also get MRS or multi-reticle versions of this red dot that can swap between a dot or a circle with the dot, and you can also get more advanced options with drop reticles in there. So that's something to consider. If you don't like the standard dot, maybe think about the MRS systems. If you do like the standard dot, that's great because you won't have to pay as much for this red dot. There is a difference in window size. It's not huge, but it is noticeable. The 403 has a window size of 20 millimeters, and the ARO has a window size of 22 millimeters. Now, that's not a lot on paper, but it definitely is noticeable that it is a little bit bigger, and maybe that's something that you want to max out if you're stat maxing with your red dots. The turrets on these two units have some differences as well. The 403 features capped turrets. I will need to take off and unscrew the caps on these turrets in order to adjust them. The ARO has exposed turrets. I can adjust these without any tools. There isn't really a super huge upside for Holosun optics for either one of these. Just the way these uncapped turrets are designed, there's a low risk that they're really going to get smashed up, which is why a lot of people did turret capping in the first place. But these are in line with the actual housing. I think there's a low risk of them being smashed up. However, if you really want to make sure that those turrets are totally protected and there's no risk of them getting broken anyway, maybe the 403 is an option. But I don't personally consider capped or non-capped turrets on a style of optic like this to be a huge problem, especially the way they're designed. Some optics and some magnifiers, the way the turrets are designed, they're very easy to bump and turn accidentally. That's not the case with the ARO. Those turrets are inset. It's not going to be a problem. I don't foresee you accidentally adjusting those very easily. There's a couple other changes between them, one being the battery tray. The 403 has a very small battery tray, which is pretty standard across Holosun's old optic lines, but the ARO features a larger battery tray with larger screws. It was a common complaint that the 403 and similar style battery trays are very easy to strip out the screws in because those screws are so tiny. The ARO features bigger screws, so that shouldn't be a problem, and that is a consideration. It's cool that they're adding these, and I would love to see these across more Holosun optics. The mount style is different. That it doesn't necessarily mean it's worse or better. It's just something you consider. This 403 has a pass-through mount, so theoretically, if you put irons at that height, you could see through them, but it's very rare you'll have irons at that height. The ARO features a mount with a post in the middle, and that is it. I'd have to do a lot more durability testing to see which one is actually more durable, but they're not going to have big problems between them unless you start smashing them onto rocks. And if you do that, okay, let's talk. But you could also swap these with more proven, durable T2 risers, which we have a bunch of those on defensedistributors.com. The look, this may be getting superficial, but hey, looks sometimes matter. And the ARO versus the 403, I believe that the ARO just looks a lot cleaner and more professional in general, as opposed to the old 403 style. I mean, that comes down to preference, and it might not matter for you, but I think the ARO looks a lot cooler, and the price. Now, the prices on these do change. Sometimes they go on sale, sometimes they go off, all of these different variables. So I'm not going to say the direct price in this video. You can go check it out at defensedistributors.com if you are interested. But the ARO is really, really well priced for the optic, for what it comes with, and for all the features I've explained. It's really well priced in general, but you'll have to find that out for yourself. So ARO versus 403. Which one should you pick? Well, a lot of that comes down to specifically which features you desire in a red dot and what's important to you. I will say that the 403B is getting a lot harder to find, if it's findable at all. Most of these are probably going to be used on the market or come from pawn shops or gun shows or things of that nature, just because now that Holosun's discontinued the 403, they're not going to be putting more of those into production. The ARO is going to be very plentiful to find, as it's Holosun's current red dot offering for this style. So that's something you might want to consider in there. If you need to get replacement parts or something, it'll be easier to get that for this, but you might as well just send it back to Holosun at that point. So the difference does come down to your personal wants and needs. I think the ARO is a great improvement from the 403B, but if you already have a 403B, whether you should upgrade is determined by whether you truly need the things the ARO offers. But I like the ARO a lot. I think it's a great optic, and I'm very excited to use it a lot more. If you want any of these, or risers for them, accessories for them, magnifiers for them, you can head to the link in the description, defensedistributors.com.